So welcome to Steam Powered PD. Today is Monday, May 18th. If it is Keith's birthday, so if anyone wants to send Keith a happy birthday message, Keith Kelly, my brother, I'm sure he'd appreciate that. Send him an email. And by the way, he is the older brother, if anybody's wondering, between the two of us. That's maybe not common knowledge, but for what that's worth. Anyway, so we're going to talk today about Google Drive. We're going to kind of, like I said, revisit a little bit of, kind of back to the basics, going to work our way through that idea of building your platform. So what things you need to do to be successful with your students, setting up your classroom, setting up the virtual components of it, all that stuff. So we'll take questions. I'm going to start with a couple questions that have come in this last weekend, and we'll go from there. One of the questions that came in is about bandwidth. So this morning, Lisa was asking me about streaming video. So she had a video and she wanted to show it to her Google Meet, her class at one time. And the question was her Wi-Fi, good enough? Did I think? And so what I would say to that is if you Google the words speed test, there's a little icon that will come up. I'll pull it up to show you. Let's do a quick screen share here. So if I just go to google.com, let's see if it's loading. Everybody have my screen, hopefully. Good. So if I just Google speed test, this is going to have a link right here, this blue button right here, built right in. I can click on that, and it's going to show me what my up and down speeds are. So download, most of the things we do online is we're downloading things. We have, downloading videos, we're downloading websites, we're downloading things. Your upload speed will be much less, but that's where you are streaming, kind of pushing out. And so mine 35 or 34.9 down is actually really good. We do so much online here professionally that we actually pay for the business version. So that's why that's so high. And this is actually not great for up, but it's not too bad. So what that means is that I would absolutely be able to stream, a video and have kids watch it in that way. Now, it's also depending on their end. As far as, what level they have. One thing that we found during this situation is sometimes it strains people's Wi-Fi or their homes if they have multiple kids on at the same time. So we've had a situation before where I was here streaming, doing a video call. My son was on with his class doing a video call. My wife was on with her work. So we want to be mindful of that with our own students, is if they have a couple different pieces, a couple different people on trying to stream at the same time. One thing that we do, or one thing I'd recommend, is if you're trying to save bandwidth a little bit, is you can go audio only. So if I right now turn my video off, that would be quite a bit better as far as streaming speeds. So what I believe that Lisa is going to do, and just so you know, at our school, our tech department has put the Wi-Fi out to the parking lot. So if somebody goes into the parking lot, with a car or whatever, they should be able to get Wi-Fi and pretty good speeds. Our school actually has really good speeds now, so that is always an option. I believe that's what she's going to do.
Kern, this is Patty. I'm sorry. I don't think we saw your presenting screen.
Oh, sorry about that. I will present it right now. See if it comes up this time. It said it did, but I will try again. See if that worked. There we go. I can see it now. Okay, excellent. I'm not sure why I didn't go through, but just really quick, I'll show you what I did here. So if I want to check my speeds, if I'm worried about, Lisa this morning was going to play a video and have it stream to all of her class at once through Meet, but she was worried it'd be too laggy. It wouldn't actually play well. So the way to test your speed, if I go to google.com, type in speed test, and it should be a button right here. And it'll give you, if you want to click on Measurement Lab, it'll give you kind of the ranges, what's fast, what's slow, what can I do with it. But I can click Run Speed Test right here. It'll do a quick upload speed and download speed. So you notice it's already changed from last time. A big factor of not only your own bandwidth at your house, but even in your community. So if a lot of people are streaming at the same time, that's a factor. For example, usually in the evenings, let's say 8 o'clock or 7 or 8 o'clock, everybody's at home streaming Netflix. You would see a difference in your quality of your speeds. What I'll notice at my house is if all of a sudden my boys start playing video games, my speed will go way down because all of a sudden all their games will start sucking the bandwidth. You can in fact think of a bandwidth almost like a garden hose. So there's only so much water that can go through that hose, and if you start kind of piping off from it, There's still the same amount of water coming through, but the more devices that are sucking or trickling a little bit of bandwidth from that, it takes it away a little bit. So hopefully that if you have issues, you can kind of check that out and see if that will solve it. All right, so we're going to talk about Google Drive today. One question that came up, and this was from Edna Dixmont, and I think this is good to share. And the question was around the idea of tracking or seeing who has signed in to see your website. Now, all the K-4 teachers in our district have a Google Slide as a website. That's kind of their public site that they're sharing with the parents and the kids and that kind of stuff. And they want to know, like, can I see who's been on? Can I see, as far as parents go, which parents have viewed my site or not? The quick answer is no. And if you think about that, you probably, what I mean by that is if students sign in to be able to see your site, meaning if you had it behind a password wall. So if you said, okay, you can come to my Google Classroom, but you have to sign in with your account to get there, that would have a barrier to show you, oh yes, these students have signed in, I can see who's been on here and that kind of thing. If it's a public website, you can see how many people have viewed it, like just numbers, like, 10 people have viewed it, 100 people have viewed it, whatever. But you're not going to be able to track who it actually is. If you want to track who the person actually is, you need some way of registering that, and you'd have to have them sign in. So in this situation with our K-4 parents, we didn't really want to have a barrier of having to have their students sign in because their kids are going to be little. The little first graders or second graders, they're not going to remember their password probably or likely to be able to sign in. So we want parents to be able to get to their website. So it doesn't actually show them who has actually gone and looked at their website. Now, when somebody mentioned about the activity dashboard, if I go to a Google slideshow, and I will just grab one to show you. I'll do another screen share here in 1 second. I'm just going to pull up one of the slides right here. So this is one of the example slideshows one of the teachers is using as her webpage, which is fantastic. It looks really good. I'm in edit mode right now. So what that means is I can see up here, I can see all the tools. I can go and I can change something. We purposely had, now here's another good thing here. These slides right here are hidden. Notice how it has like the eyeball, like a line through them, a little bit grayed out. That means that they're not public yet. But when it's time she wants to make it public, she can just click on it and right click and undo that skip slide. I'm not going to do it, but you could undo that skip slide and then it would be public. So right now, if I go to File, if I want to view the activity tracker, that's only going to show people that are inside right here. I can click on this and it will show people have made changes in the edit mode, but not people who have viewed it. Okay, so if I go back here, being a little laggy. There we go. If I go to File, Publish to the Web, this link here is going to be the public view. So I'm going to copy that to show what that looks like. I'm actually going to put it in this tab over here. So this is the published view that everybody will be able to see. Now you notice there's no edit tools. It's not going to show me who is signed in. It's just going to be here, just basically a web page. Boom, you're done. But people can click on links here. They can go to it. They can play videos if they want to. All this kind of cool stuff. This is going to be your place where you'd see who signed in. Again, as of right now, I would not change that. I wouldn't make people sign into it. Just because if you have a parent who's home, they want to go, look at it on their phone, or they just want to go look at the site to see what things they want students to do, that's the easiest way to do it. I'll just show you too, if I did want to change it, where I would do that. If I click share up here in the upper right now, anyone can see and view this website right here. If I click advanced, I could change that from public and I could say, oh no, it has to be people inside the domain, which means RSU 19. So only people inside of RSU 19 could find it. Again, I'm not going to change this, but just so you know how that would work. So hopefully that answers their questions there. All right. So the other thing I was going to do for a topic today, we talked about doing Google Drive. Now, Google Drive has added some things, made some changes, so I just want to kind of revisit it from scratch. We know that Google Drive is kind of our base where most of our stuff lives as far as our work that we collect from students, the work that they do, they create things in there. You can almost think of Google Drive as your virtual hard drive. It's like a thumb drive or a hard drive that you have to store things, but it's in the cloud. That means it's not on your computer in front of you, which means that you don't have to worry about losing it. Any computer you go to with internet access, you can get to it, you can pull up your stuff, you can look at documents, you can share things, whatever. The biggest difference is how they manage or organize files. Now that is different than how you do it on a traditional computing. So I'm going to jump to Google Drive here for a second. So at drive.google.com. Again, we've seen these before, but if I want to look at certain things, I can go to new. If I want to upload files I've already created offline, let's say I have some Word files or some PowerPoints, whatever, I can click new and upload a file. I can do an entire folder, all that kind of thing. The biggest difference is this. You can add a document, and I'm going to change a different document. I don't want to do those right here. Let's go do one of mine here. If I right click here and go here. So this is a new thing here that's happened last, I don't know, a few weeks. It says add shortcut to Drive. And this is what I wanted to talk about. So for a while, Google called these, they actually didn't call them folders, they called them collections. And that's really the way you want to think about it. Again, it's different than what we're used to. We're used to taking a document or a file. It's in a folder. And if we want to move it, we drag it to somewhere else. And now it's somewhere else. It's not in both places at once. Or I can make a copy, but they don't really talk to each other. This is more like tagging. If you have an image, if I upload a picture to, Instagram or whatever, Twitter or Facebook or whatever, I can tag it with different things. Let's say I have a picture of myself and my kids, and it's we're outside, we're playing, I don't know, baseball or whatever. I could tag that photo, family, kids, baseball, outside, and tag it multiple things. And if I search for all my pictures called baseball, it could appear in that. But it doesn't mean that it only appears in that. That picture could also appear in the baseball one and in the kids one and in the family one and whatever ones I want to tag it. That's how these work now. That's how these work. Like, they're not really folders where I can drag something into it, but I can add something to multiple folders. If I right click on this, I'm going to click move to. So it looks like I can move them from one place. We'll grab another folder here to another. Okay. If I move it to that folder, I can also have it appear in multiple places. Now, the big thing that makes a difference here, the reason why, click off this, the difference is this little icon up here. Once it loads, you'll see it up here in this, right beside the title of it. Let me right up. Sometimes you'll see it looks like a little symbol right here. So this says move. This shows me it's in a folder. But if somebody shares a document with me, and up here, it doesn't look like that symbol right there. It doesn't look like the Drive symbol. Usually it's gray. It's grayed out. That means it's not in my Drive. It's just shared with me. So somebody has a document. They share it with me. We both can access it, but it's not actually in my Drive. I haven't kind of copied it over. And I can click on that icon, and it'll say, where do you want to put it? And I can put it wherever I want. I can move it into one of these collections. And then once I do that, it will be in both places. And so the best example I can think of as an analogy to kind of explain why in practice, where would we use this? If you had a single document that a student's writing an essay, but they're writing an essay for the English teacher, for grammar and language and that kind of stuff, but that same essay is on the Civil War. So they're writing it also for the history teacher, the social teacher. That same document can appear in both folders at once. It can appear for the history teacher and for the English teacher. So both teachers can score it. It's all the same thing. That's kind of like that tagging mentality. Again, it's different. And if you're using Google Classroom, which I know many of us or most of us are, it basically does that for us automatically. It puts it in the folders we want to. If I look under my folders here, and if I go to my Drive, by default, when I create a new classroom, it automatically creates a folder called Classroom. And inside of that, all my classes, once it loads, all my classes are automatically right here, automatically stored inside of that. So as we go forward, I could absolutely see us, being a little bit more mindful as far as for our students, because it organizes for them as well, right? It organizes their folders as they go forward. I could see us, thinking about, okay, how do we want to call this? We don't want to just call it math, because we actually, well, this is 7th grade math, and now it's 8th grade math, and now it's, 9th grade algebra or whatever. Like, I kind of organize it for them. The title of their folder is the title of your course. So if your course is called math, well, that's what it calls it. And it automatically puts their work inside of it for them organized. Other things in Drive that's worth noting, not only, just general kind of usage and dragging things around and that kind of stuff. A couple different things over on the left side here. One of the things I get asked a lot about is how can I clean up my, the equivalent of my desktop? Like, I don't want it to be, it's so chaotic. If I just click my regular shared with me or my regular recent, it's all these things that I didn't even do. Like, people send this to me. Well, if you go to starred, These are things that you put in here yourself. It's only from stuff that you choose under the starred collection. Now, any of these things in here, if I want it to be starred or not, you can turn that on or off. If I right-click on something, which I don't want to do this one. Let's do this one. If I right-click on something, I can remove from starred or I can add it to starred. Click on that, and it's gone. All a star does, if I look at a folder here, it just adds, it puts it into this subfolder. That's all it does. It doesn't affect the actual document itself or the folder, whatever. So I usually use start as my kind of home base. Now, I have probably too many things in here, but you can remove, add, or remove those things as you want. Also in here, if I click on shared drives, now we've talked about this before. Shared drives are something where it's not under a single person's folder. Now, the reason why that's important, if I create a document, it's mine. I created it. I can share it with other people, but it's under my account. If I decide to move and okay, I'm not with the district anymore or whatever, we've had people that happen. Well, all the documents that they were owners to, it became problematic. It wasn't impossible, but it became problematic to keep using those or share them or whatever. So one solution we've had, and we've used this in the past, is kind of create placeholder accounts where people can just it's not a person, it's just a position. Maybe it's student council advisor, right? So student council advisor account, Google account they can use, and if somebody has a new person that's doing that, they can just give that account to them, which is kind of an easy way of doing it. And that works okay. But they now have a thing called shared drives, which those are folders that people can put things in, but no one person owns them. Now, the reason why not everybody can make shared drives is because once you create one in there, everybody in the domain can see them. Everybody as a staff member can see them, I should say. So we purposely kind of kept those for certain things, like, for example, the committee, the curriculum steering committee. So these are curriculum steering committee documents that are shared with everybody who should be in that, those folders. And we do it by different areas. Even inside here, you can add members. Let me go jump back one here. And you can add members at different levels. So if you had a subfolder you needed to have somebody to have, total rights or, certain rights, maybe they can add things, but they can't delete things, that kind of thing. You can change that. All right. The other thing I was going to share today for Google Drive as far as is add-ons. Okay, so add-ons are little programs that you would add into Google Drive. So if I click on New, up here at the left, go down to More, scroll all the way down here, and Connect More Apps. So these are apps that are third parties. That means they're another company. They're not from Google, but they can be connected with students' Google accounts. Now, you can add them yourself to your own accounts and have them. If you want something that's pushed out to all your students, you let us know, let the tech department know, because we can push some. We're really, really judicious about which ones we push out because we don't want to push it out for everybody. We only want to do it for certain students. So if you needed an add-on that you only wanted your class to have, we would probably just have your students go through the process of adding it themselves. If it's something that we think that everybody should have, then we could do that, add it for everybody. These are little programs that automatically connect with your school account, like I said. So if I, for example, SketchUp for Schools is a good one. We use SketchUp at the middle school level, or some of the 8th graders use it for a project they work on. They can come in here, you can click on SketchUp, they can add it to their account. I've already added it. And so what that means is students can go and it's automatically connected to their Google Drive. So I'll show you where that shows up. If they go to New, More, and right in here, these are all little programs that we've added, or I've added in this case, that students could use. For example, the 3D STL viewer. So this is just one for 3D modeling. Most people wouldn't care about it, but we use this a lot. I don't think I have an STL file I can grab handy, but if you're working with 3D printing or that kind of stuff, this is a really handy one. Now, this may not be one for everybody. Everybody needs to have this one, but for the students that are using 3D printing or 3D modeling, this is a handy add-on to have. So New, More, scroll down, Connect More Apps, and then keep on going. So there's all kinds of one here. Here's Screencastify. Now, Screencastify is one that we've actually connected, just in the Chrome extension, so the Chrome browser. But if I wanted to connect it in here, now again, it's a little bit of doing it twice because we've already done it, but I can click on this video right here. I can individual install. I know most of us have already used it in the Chrome browser, which is fine, but I can continue, connect it to my account, and allow it. I don't know why it's taking so long. There we go. So there we go. Done. Okay, so what the change is, you'll notice here, again, before we've been using Screencastify, so it's no big deal. And it was up here in the Chrome browser, like up in the extension bar right up here. Okay, cool. But now if I go to new, it will actually be built into here as well. So if I open up a video that I created, let me show you, I'll show you where they all are. So if I click up here in Google Drive in the little gear on the upper right, go to settings, okay, manage apps. So these are the apps that I've added, like Screencastify, for example. Here are all of them. And I can come down here. See where Screencastify is. There it is right there. Now it says use by default. So again, that's a choice on your case if you want to or not. What that means is when you double click a file that's referenced from this, what does it do? Does it use Screencastify to open it? Does it use something else? Most files, like if they're like, unique files, that they'll open up right in Google Drive, you're no worries. But let's say you have, for example, like those STL files, the 3D printing files. Well, I want them to open up in this viewer right here. So that, again, I chose to make sure that was the default. If somebody asked me in another session, PDFs, let's say I want to have a PDF editor and I have them changed and whatever. Well, I could have Cami is one PDF annotator, if you want that, to use that as default. Like that means that now if I double click on a PDF, it's going to open up in that app to be able to use it. If I don't want to use that anymore, if I want to remove it, I click on options and I could disconnect from Drive. I'm not going to, but you can. Done? All right. So I'm going to jump back here for a second. I'm going to look at the questions. Okay, so a couple of teachers talking about Screencastify. Tony mentioned how easy it is. Yes, I think that the kids love it too. I know my own boys at home, they've been doing a lot of recordings, obviously, and they like it just as well. One thing that we've become really good at, I think, or getting better at, is non-traditional ways of recording work, of having students, record themselves video-wise or maybe audio-wise or whatever, not just having to do it, typing it out or writing it on paper. So I think that's been a really kind of neat way for those students to kind of learn how to do that and hand it in. One thing I will mention, we're starting to, because we've been using Screencastify so much, now we still have the free version, till, I believe, till July, I think it is, till the dates go. And we've, talked about if we're going to buy it again in the fall and so forth. But either way, Google Meet has this same ability built into it. And so if you're doing a lot of recordings, having teachers, not so much students, but teachers start to kind of transition into Google Meet as their video recording, just because Screencastify at some point is going to start charging again. We'll see, if we're able to get a site license or not. Yeah, Tony mentioned listening to a recording is easier to grade than go back and listen for evidence. Yeah, I've always wanted to too, and I always thought this would be a fun thing to have at the end of a unit, just to have students record themselves, again, 10-second, 30-second, whatever it is, really quick little, just their own personal review, like, hey, I really like that unit, this is my favorite part, this is my least favorite part, whatever, just so I get in the habit of doing that and handing it in. And I think what would happen is you get a lot more authentic types of responses. We did this a couple times with Miss Reed's class, and the 6th grade English teacher. And one thing that I noticed with her, she mentioned about some of the responses were, if you had to sit down and write it out, like a student was going to sit down and type up paper, this was my response to that unit. They just either would do it or just would kick it out because it was just kind of another assignment. Whereas if they were just talking to the camera, like, yeah, I really liked it because I like this part, or I really didn't like it because X, Y, or Z, they were a lot more authentic and it was just a lot easier to do. The hardest part of that process, if I remember right, was just finding the kids' physical space in the room or in the hallway to be able to record themselves, because of course everybody's talking at once. But now that's not a big deal, right? Kids can record themselves. Again, I'm not talking big, huge, long recordings, but just little 30-second, maybe 45-second recordings of what they thought or what their responses are. We have at the high school level for broadcasting, we've been having kids record themselves for a couple things. One is they've been doing videos of kind of a day in the life, which is kind of fun, like what they've been doing all day, different little videos that way. We've also been having them do some tutorials, like to do some video tutorials, which we'll kind of start publishing as we collect more and more of them. And then finally, yes, I'll jump on that, Crystal. And then finally, we've been having kids do book reading. So if you are interested, let me throw the link up here. But if you are interested either in recording yourself, like you reading a book and a picture book and having it record for students, and I'll throw the link right in the chat. Or if you just want to have your own students be able to go and look at books that other people have recorded, if you go to our bit.ly/RSU19 Storytime, right here, these are some of the recordings that kids have done that you can just, like, here's Froggy Goes to Hawaii. So I believe this was Bree. But your kids can come in here, they can watch them. Again, obviously younger. So this is just a fun way for them to kind of give back. We've had more and more kids recording themselves reading books, and I know for the younger kids, it's really fun for them to see high school kids or older kids reading to them. So we've been doing a collection of those different readings. And if you're interested in doing one of these, if there's something that you'd like to participate in, right here are the directions. And again, you can use Screencastify or WeVideo or whatever you want to record it, and then submit it right here so we can collect it and add it out. But I believe Crystal had a question, so please go ahead. You have a question, Crystal?
Sorry, I was trying to find the microphone.
No problem.
I have a student, well, I had an assignment that I put through Google Classroom.
Yep.
And I thought I was being really smart and did the make a copy and everything, but they weren't able to write on it. So that some kids ended up having to like try to copy and paste and do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, what I don't know in this case specifically, but usually 9 times out of 10, what happens as soon as they get there, like you've handed it out to them digitally and they collect it, if they click turn in, they can't write on it.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that happens 100% of the time, but 99 out of 100 times, that's what happened. A student click turn in, they as if you have it, but that means that while they're turning it in, you can't write on it. So, now, they can click unsubmit.
Well, under the grading part,
yep.
Currently ended up, like if you look at, well, I know you can't look at it, but sorry, if you could see all their scores, there's like, missing. For some of them say turned in, some of them they're a grade out of 100. This particular kiddo, yep. All it has is a check mark. And so my specific question, I guess, is how do I get rid of that check mark to put in a grade?
I'll have to look at that.
That's a whole nother class or a.
No, I can look at that one specifically if you'd like. I'm not sure. I have to look at that one. Do you know, did what kind of scoring did you use for that one? Was it just a check or was it a regular score?
It was supposed to have been a regular score.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look. I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
And I know, Crystal, like something I've done by mistake, like this throughout this when I'm trying to post in a hurry, is instead of making a copy for each student, I just like made it so the students could view it, and then they're trying to type in it, so then they're trying to make a copy. I was like, oh, sugar. So then I'm trying to like delete that one and then repost it correctly, and then the students are already typing in. I was like, just copy and paste it. I mean, but sometimes it's just like if you forget to do that one little click, make a copy for each student, it's a big pain.
I wish they made that by default, and I don't know why they don't. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of great stuff that's in it. And some of it I'm still learning. I think I get it, and then I go to try it the next time, and I have to go look it up all over again.
So another question that came up, Tony asked about housing videos this summer, like if you're recording videos to house them, and about a YouTube account. So the quick answer of that is anything I record, and if I want to store it somewhere, I store it in Google Drive. So even if it was a video recording, like if it's recording of me, or if I did use Screencastify or use Google Meet or whatever I used, even WeVideo, I would store it in Drive separately just because. As far as the YouTube account, there's no reason not to. If you're already doing the hard work of recording the video, uploading it to a YouTube account, there's no reason not to do that. Like, that doesn't hurt anything. The only drawback, YouTube is a little bit trickier from the management end. And what I mean by that is if you want to put them into playlists, so let's say you're doing different playlists for different units on YouTube, you just have to, it's another step. It's not the end of the world. It's not super hard, but it's just one more step. The other thing about YouTube is really make sure that you're not using any copyrighted, and again, not that you would, but even if there's like a radio playing in the background that you can hear, that's like a copyrighted, like a popular song, that could close down your YouTube account. What they do typically is I think they say 3 strikes, and they'll give you a warning and all that kind of stuff. But you just have to be a little bit more diligent about copyright stuff on a YouTube channel than not. And even in a YouTube channel, you can still make that stuff private or unlisted, meaning that only students inside of the RSU-19 would really see it. So it's not truly public. So I would say there's no reason not to. If you're doing the hard work of recording anyway, upload it to YouTube. I have it set up so, like, again, these recordings, when we're done, I just do a couple clicks, do a little editing, and click a button, and it automatically goes up to that YouTube account pretty directly. So if you want to do any kind of editing, if you're using WeVideo, that's built right into it as well.
Okay, so like so is it just as easy then to just make the videos and store them in my Drive, and then if something like this closure came up again, I would have like, I want like a summary video of each unit. And then I want like my demos, because I think the hard part is like, I don't have the hands-on demos to do with them. And I wish I had the materials here, but nobody has these materials in my classroom. So if I can record these, storing them in my drive, and then when the unit's there, just attach it to my classroom.
That's exactly what I would do. That's exactly what I would do.
Okay, thank you.
And I would, if you're taking the time to do all that anyway, you have the recording in Google Drive. I would also add it to a YouTube channel just because it's another click. It's not a huge add-on. I just wouldn't only have it. I would start my Drive and then move it to YouTube. I wouldn't do it the other way around. Okay, that helps. All right, speaking of that, actually, this kind of relates very directly. I don't know if I have it up here. Let me. Usually we end the session on something kind of cool, a new extra credit activity we want to check out. I found these and I thought these looked really fun, even if it's not for school specifically, but just to do with the kids. Let me pull the link up here. Under the show notes, these are called challenge cards, and they're from, I'll put this in the chat here. They're from the Dyson Foundation. So the Dyson, the same Dyson you think of like vacuums and fans and blowers in the restrooms, that kind of stuff. The Dyson challenge cards. So these are all challenges to do with kids at home that are all using things that are basically stuff you'd find around the house. Like this is a balloon car race, and it's all the parts of it. They give you all the different steps on how to do it, but are all things you could probably find around the house, like a bottle and a balloon and caps and that kind of stuff. Here's a spaghetti bridge, using spaghetti and how much can you make it weigh enough to hold a bag of sugar, all that kind of stuff. Marble run. Miss Barbosa, you probably love this one. There's a marble one built into it, which I know you have a lot of expertise in. So anyway, cardboard chair, making a periscope, just kind of fun things. I just thought this was kind of a cool thing to do, all stuff that you could do with your kids at home, using pretty much all household materials. Just kind of a fun way of doing that. So I just thought this was kind of a fun add-on, either using with kids or just using with your own kids at home. And I think with that, am I still doing a screen share here? No. All right. Awesome. I think with that, you guys have any other questions? We talked about Drive today. Tomorrow we're going to go dive back into, I believe it's docs, forms and sheets. Oh yes, because so I did want to. Tomorrow we're going to cover forms, and the reason why specifically is I had a couple people asking about making self-grading quizzes in forms, like that whole process. So I'm going to go through that whole process, what that looks like from 0 all the way through, how you can score, how you can add that directly to your Google Classroom, all those kind of components to it. So that's what we'll do tomorrow is Google Forms. There was one other thing I wanted to share. Oh yeah. One other last thing I'm going to share, because I did have, this was one other question that came up. And I'll end with this. The question was, and you can share this with your other teachers if they come up, is if I want to see archives of these videos, what do I do? How do I go to this? Oh yeah. How do I, jump back to see old copies of this, another topic that I missed or whatever, revisit one. If you go to, in the district, if you go to rsu19.info, so here's the webpage, rsu19.info, and if I scroll down, this is always going to be the latest one. So right now we're talking about Google Drive, and we talked about the Dyson challenge cards or whatever, and you can always ask questions here. But if I keep scrolling down, these are all the archived videos right here. So if I miss anything, this links to the video itself on the left side here. This is the extra credit that we do on the right side, the link, and then a little definition of what we're talking about. So all of these here are available all the way back to the very first one. And also, if you want to go to any of the individual ones, if you look at here, so I can go back to the one that was on April 30th. And these are the actual show notes from that day, so the links and that kind of stuff. So they're all there if you need to go to and see kind of the old ones, rsu19.info. All right. I think with that, so Tony mentioned about, I know, Tony, you've done the marble run for a long time. Just so you know, something I've wanted to do, and Keith and I have talked about this, but I haven't been able to pull it off yet, is I'd love to get to the point where we could do a marble run, but each of the pieces of it is a 3D printed component that the kids themselves design and print. We'd give them specifications like how big it needs to be at one end and how little it needs to be at the other end or whatever, but they can make the marbles go from one side to the other and design what happens, and eventually have like hundreds of items all connected that they could have like a whole wall of a marble run, but each one had 3D printed their own kind of pieces of it. I always thought that'd be a fun activity and just keep building to it and adding to it every year. I don't know if we could ever pull that off, but anyway, maybe someday when back in school. All right, guys, I'm going to take off. Thank you for joining me. Tomorrow we'll be talking about forms and sheets. I'll see you all tomorrow.